welcome to the afternoon drive. Feeling a lot better this afternoon. Got a little power nap in. If you guys were with me in the morning drive, you know I was kind of hanging because only had a few hours sleep. But feeling much better now. Got a little bit of a, got some crazy drivers out here. But yeah, I got a little bit of a power nap in over lunch. Much better. Hopefully I'll be doing the 7 o'clock. I'll see you there. I'm going to go home and start looking at the overlays. I told you last night I was working on it, trying to change things up, add a few different camera angles to that. So I will try, and for whatever reason I was dropping some frames. As I've said before many times, I've got a lot of appreciation for guys that do this live streaming as a full-time gig, because just to get your stream going a certain way, I mean, and make sure everything's functioning okay, it can be a little tricky. Still trying to get over this congestion, this cold, but you know what? Feeling much better this afternoon, so hopefully I'll be right on time at around the 7 o'clock. So definitely shoot by if you're going to be in the area on Twitch or YouTube or Mixer or whatever tonight. 7 o'clock I should be there Central Time here in the U.S. Not sure what time it is where you're at, but yeah, people today, I'll tell you, today I'm just a firm believer that people are insane. And I'm one of them, because I'm going to sit here and get myself in an accident because I have a mosquito in my car. So I'll go ahead and end up getting myself in some kind of a car accident to get rid of this bug. Normally it wouldn't bother me because it's just a mosquito, but here in Florida they got Zika virus, they've got, West Nile, I mean, they've got everything. So to me, a mosquito, I don't want to have any more kids that have, not anymore, but I don't want to have any kids with defects. Of course, my wife would tell me I don't have to worry about that. But now, mosquitoes around here, I'm always afraid of, this is like a swamp. People love Florida. I'm going to tell you what, first shot I can get back to Florida, or Arizona, I'm heading back to Arizona. Yeah, it's a nice place to visit, but I'll tell you, it's like Camp Swampy here. There's so much moisture and water, and, mosquitoes are everywhere. In Florida, or in Arizona, Florida has tons of mosquitoes. Arizona, very few, if any, where I lived. So I'm definitely going to keep trying to get back there. But anyway, yeah, people are crazy today. I was kind of going through the news and looking, and I don't know, there's things that I read, and you have to kind of do the fact-checking. And remember, I was telling you guys, every time I click on the news, it's bad news, bad news, bad news, never anything good. I could make this up, it might be a big thing now, but I looked on there and it said a mother and daughter killed 5 of their relatives in this apartment, and I'm like, I mean, everything is bad. I'm just like, people are losing their mind. I just don't get it. I mean, I wish for 1 week, I wonder what would happen if for one solid week, all the news agencies just decided on reporting good news, positive stories, not stories that are designed to make you feel dread or fear or, just something that's positive. I would love to just go for a week and see that happen to the news. It'll never happen, but yeah, everything I went to today, I was like, I'm going to catch up on all the news stories. I'm going to see what's, you read, and it's funny because they'll make, Rami Malek or whatever, he fell off the stage at the Oscars. Even that, I mean, come on, really, it's like the night of excitement for everybody. We got to go ahead and emphasize, the negative thing that happens. But my day today was literally spent just horrified at all the different things that are in the news. I'm like, this person killed, that's terrible. Oh, this person killed it. Oh, wow. This one, story after story after story, negative, and I just went, God, what is it with it? I mean, are we really that starving for entertainment, if you call it entertainment? Because I think people have a morbid curiosity. I think that we do. I mean, when somebody says to you, oh, hey, did you hear Dave died? the first thing people want to know is, oh, really? How'd he die? They don't say something like, oh my gosh, is his family okay? How is his kids? No, the first thing they want to know is how they died. So we have this morbid sense of curiosity. Maybe that's why it makes the news, because people, it's not that they need to know or that they really want to know. It's just there's that sick part of us that has that morbid curiosity. We want to know. Oh my God, how could that person go and do that? How could that person do this? I have no idea why that's newsworthy. I just don't. I don't get it. But I've said that before. I mean, I'm surprised at the crap that they put in the media every single day. But I guess it's supposed to be expected now, because that's what we've been programmed. We kind of like, it wouldn't be news if we didn't read about something horrific happening somewhere. There's got to be a war. There's got to be people dying somewhere, or else we're not in a good mood and we don't enjoy. And maybe the idea is it'll make us appreciate our life more if we see the unluckiness of other people that are out there, the bad luck that other people have. Maybe it makes us appreciate that our bad luck isn't as bad, or the terrifying things that happen make us fear our situation less. Who knows? I mean, maybe there's some logic behind it. I fail to see it, but maybe there is, man. I don't know. I've been told before, I just don't get it. There's certain things that I just don't, I mean, beyond religion, beyond all the other things I don't understand. I mean, there are things that that escape my comprehension sometimes. I mean, people used to argue about suicide. Like, the whole idea behind suicide, it escape. I don't get it. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I was reading, somebody just recently committed suicide, one of the celebrities, comedians or whatever. But I'm like, you're not here that long. I mean, really, you can't wait it out. You're only here a very short amount of time, a second in the eyes, of the whole cosmos. You're here in just a brief moment in time. And you got to expedite that and leave because you're that miserable. And then people talk about depression. That's another thing. I don't get it. I don't, it's a chemical imbalance and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there for depression, because I have my own views on depression. But the whole suicide thing, I don't get that. If you're that unhappy, that miserable of a life, and you want to end your life, do you have the right to do that? Do you have the right to take your own life and hurt the mother, the father, your children, and those that care for you? Can you be that selfish where you'll take your own life to put yourself out of all this pain, this mental or physical pain, and meanwhile leave everybody else shattered? And, do you have the right to do that? I say yes. You have every right to do that. You can, because we're individuals. We can do whatever you want. Nobody can control you. So if you want to kill yourself, you have every right to do that. But the thing is, I think, in my own head, I'm going, I don't think it's the answer. I think that no matter how bad things are, no matter how terrible things are, it doesn't, to me, it would have to be where I'm in chronic, severe pain. If I was in chronic, severe pain all the time that could be managed through drugs or anything, or if I was, I had some terminal illness that was gonna, be miserable with me living the rest of my life, I can understand it. I could even, that's why, like, when Kevorkian was, I don't know, for those of you that can remember, Jack Kevorkian, they called him Dr. Death. When I was in Detroit, I was an executive producer at a radio station. We used to have Dr. Death on, and his attorney at the time was a guy by the name of Jeffrey Feiger. He was an attorney, very arrogant, very, egotistical type of an attorney. But they used to be on the show, and I was always behind him. He was assisting people with suicide, that wanted to end their suffering or whatever. Some elderly, some just had diseases. But I was always supportive of that. I'm like, you know what? I can see that, if you're helping these people that want to end it and they have the families were always there to support those people, I was always behind it. But there's sometimes where I look at people and I think you didn't have any of those terrible reasons to end things. So I don't get it. As I said, guys, suicide is just that one thing, one of the many things that I don't get. Don't understand it, never will understand it. Not because I wouldn't try, I just personally don't begrudge anybody. If that's what you think you have to do, then you're going to do what you're going to do. Nobody can stop you, and you have every right to do whatever you want. But I'm also a big believer that there's always something worth living for. And I mean, if you can find one thing worth living for, one thing, that to me that can be something that can be the anchor that keeps you here, or find a couple things, or the more things you can find, the more anchors you have attached to you. I think that helps you. But, a lot of people blame depression, and then, that's one more thing I don't get. Don't understand depression. Now, let me clarify that. It's not saying that people don't get depressed. It's not saying that I haven't been depressed. I have went into some very dark places to where so I don't say that depression doesn't exist. But I think that people will tell you that it's your chemical imbalance in the brain. So they'll try and give you drugs to fix it, I guess, or to put back in balance the chemicals. But I guess because I have never really experienced what a lot of these people with depression experience to their degree. I mean, I've had what I've considered really bad depression, which in my mind I think is bad. But at the same time, I always look at it and I think, when any thoughts of hurting myself or hurting others would come into that dark, no matter how dark the cloud was, I could always think my way clear of all that. I mean, I always knew that, there was always people worse off than I was. In every situation, there was always people worse than no matter what I was experiencing, no matter what I was going through, I knew there was people in this world that were far worse off than I was. So I could always talk my way out of any of the, kind of, I always say, talk my way back into the light. I think about my kids. I think about the positive things in my life, the things that really mattered to me, that were important. And, even though my situation was terrible, there's always a way in my head to regain myself and try new things. But, that goes down to motivation and inspiration, and you always have to have some way to help yourself. People always talk about self-help, but I'm going to tell you, if you don't have coping skills, and I think that's what a lot of time people don't have those coping skills. And when you don't have them and you can't cope with situations, so stress, or you don't handle those things well, it can be tough. Relationships. Oh, God. You want to talk about something I don't understand? Relationships. I'm going to tell you right now. I look at people, see, to me, everything for relationships is simple. I don't overthink anything. I think most people, boyfriends and girlfriends, boyfriends and boyfriends, girlfriends and girlfriends, and husbands and wives, whatever the relationship is, relationships are simple. I think we make them difficult. I think we I say we, meaning everybody in general, society, there's always the need, the absolute deep-seated need for conflict, for, you don't want to admit it, but people, they always talk about arguing. Well, why do you argue? Well, you know what? Because deep inside, nobody likes to be wrong. Everybody wants to think they're right. And for whatever reason, whenever we're unhappy about anything, we go to the mat and we say, and we pick fights or arguments. And I've watched people in relationships that stay in bad relationships, which really confuses me. I mean, that really bothers. You want to talk about something that's like getting hit over the head with a hammer? When I hear that there's people that are in these week after week, month after month, year after year, and they make excuses. I love it. They kids, or, oh, I don't want to, my family, I would embarrass my family. I have no place to go, no job. I've only been, they have all these excuses to stay in bad relationships. And it's just like, I almost feel like getting a shirt or a hat or a logo that says, life is too short for bad relationships. That's the truth, man. It's just too short for bad relationships. You part, you go your separate ways, say, I wish you well, I love you, but I'm going to love you from a distance, or, some things are better left that way. You could say, we had our time, or maybe that would be, we had our time, or whatever, just some little, but that's, people will stay in relationships. I don't get it. I don't care, man, woman, child, I don't care who you are. If you're in a toxic relationship, a toxic environment, you gotta get out of that. You gotta separate at any cost. And don't, that's like, I've heard that people were in like abusive relationships and shot and killed somebody or did so. You know what? Look, you don't gotta go that far. Trust me when I say there's much better ways to get out of the relationships, out of situations. I was reading where one guy, this goes back to the negative stuff, every news, he killed his wife and kids to be with this girlfriend or the mistress. What in the hell will you think? I mean, he's in jail on death row or whatever, but the thing is, what are you thinking? What's going through your mind? Oh, this will all work out in the end. I'll just clean the slate and everything will be okay. I won't have to pay money, child support, alimony. Is it money? Is that what happens? People get so stupid and ignorant because of money. You make your decisions on cash and money and how. Wow. I mean, that's another big thing with me, man. I just don't see it. If you're married and you're unhappy, if you're married and it's just not working, you just don't be married anymore. You just separate. You get a divorce. Your kids are going to be miserable for all of 15 minutes until they see how happy you two are separate. Because they are a million times more agonized. They agonize more when you're together and miserable than if you're apart and happy. And that's what I think kids, you put, as adults, as people in relationships, we way overthink that whole thing with kids. Oh my God, I don't want my kids to say my parents are divorced. Trust me, it's better for your kids if you get the divorce and you all end up happy in the end. That's all they want. As long as you're still there for them, that's all they care about. So, but yeah, so many things. As I go through life, as I get older, I kind of wish I could go back to myself 20, 30 years ago and just tell myself then all the shit that I know today. Because they say with age comes wisdom. And I think to a degree that's true. But I think more importantly, it's not with age comes wisdom. It's with experience comes wisdom. I mean, I think that's how you learn best. You learn by doing, by making the mistakes, and you learn if you're smart, you learn by other people's mistakes. You see it and you figure out what they've done to make their life better, or what they've done that's making their life worse, and you learn from that if you're smart. But, nobody ever needs to tell you what to do. And that's like me. I can never tell anybody what to do. If they ask me about a situation, they say, well, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. What do you think I should do? I can tell you what I think. I can say, well, you know what? What I would do is this, or what I think is this. I can never tell you that's what you need to do. You've got to make your own decision on stuff like that, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. Every day I go, every day that goes by, I'll see things I don't agree with. I saw the other day, typical example. I was standing in a line at Subway, and the guy, two people in front of me, just started going off and started being real belligerent to the lady in Subway. Now, normally, I would never have said anything. I mean, people are idiots, you can't change them. But he was way out of line. And I was like, and I finally, after it went on for a couple minutes, and he just kept, this lady's probably making minimum wage or whatever she's making, she's not making a lot of money working at Subway, so she's got to stand there and take this guy's crap. So I was like, no. I said, no. So anyway, I stepped out of line, I started to go over there, and I said, hey, and I got like 2 words, I said, hey, and before I could say it, another guy comes, who was like across sitting at a little table. He gets up, walks over, and grabs the guy and just pulls him, physically pulls him right out the door and threw him outside, and it just stood there. And he goes, come on, try and get back in, just try. And the guy just looked at him. You could see the guy that was sitting at the table was not a small guy. I was just kind of like, oh, well, I'll just step back in line then, and I didn't say nothing. But, he looked at me and just kind of nodded. He knew I was going to say something. But before I could, he just got up. And this guy, my arms are not small. But this guy, his arms were huge. I was just like, well, better him say something than me. And he probably had a good 4 or 5 inches on me tall-wise. I was like, but yeah, I think he sat there with his girlfriend and listened to the same thing I listened to. And when I started to move in and just say something, he jumped up and just escorted the guy right outside. And I just went, wow, the lady. So he sits back down, and the people around him are all smiling. And the lady, she's motioning to him, waving. And I was like, well, she appreciated it. She didn't say anything, but she appreciated it. I know she did. But I don't understand how people can be that way to other folks for any just common human relations. I don't understand why you feel that it's okay. There's some people feel that it's okay to treat anybody under any circumstance like that. You get bad service at a restaurant, you don't have to say anything. You just don't leave a tip, or you don't go back. But, for some reason, people feel they have to vent. They have to, make an issue out of things. And I'm like, well, I'll tell you, I don't get it. When I go to a restaurant, if I go out and I have good service, I always leave a very good tip. And I over tip. I do it because I used to own restaurants, and I know what waitresses made, and, they don't make a lot, and they really depend on the tips that people leave them. And there's people that'll go in and tell us whatever the meal is. If it's a $20 meal, they'll leave $2. If it's a $30 meal, they leave $3. If it's a $100 meal, they'll leave $10. Then they leave 10%. Just if it's a good, if they've got good service, they leave 10%. And I go, if I have a good meal and I enjoy, I'll leave a 20% tip minimum, just because I've had good service. But if it's not great, there's times where I've went into very nice, nice sit-down restaurants, nothing fancy, but like if go to Texas Roadhouse or Longhorn, or just, one of the, even Olive Garden. I've gone into restaurants where you sit down, you get to have a waitress, and get terrible service. And I mean, literally, and then I got to sit there, and the food might be delicious. The food is great. But the service, the waitress, was terrible. So I have to sit there, and I think, well, most of the time, people don't go back and talk to the people preparing the food. They don't go tell them what a great job. And then, of course, like my restaurants that I had, people would always ask to see the chef, always ask to have him come out, and they would always tell him that what a great job. He had a key lime pie that he would make. He would make this key lime pie. He would go out and get real key limes, and he would make this, and he had 4 or 5 national blue ribbons on his pie. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Best key lime pie I've ever had. But they would always call him out, or he would make things like pot pies. He would make homemade, roll the dough out with the, cut it in the flour, and I think he would use lard or whatever. But everything was from scratch, and he would make all this, and people would always, ask him to come out so they could talk to him. And he would go. They wanted to see him. He'd put on his chef's coat and his hat. And he'd go out there and meet with them and talk, and and so when I go and I get good food, I always make a point of reaching out to the cook, or sending my thanks to him for the meal. But if the waitress is terrible, and a lot of people say, well, I don't leave any tip. You always have to leave a tip. If you don't leave a tip, a lot of times, not just stick off for God. They might not even realize how bad they were. They may not have realized that while they were tending to 5 other tables, table number 6, got terrible service. They might not even be aware of it. So if you leave no tip, they just think that you forgot. So you'll always leave a tip. Now what I do is if I have a great meal but terrible service, now if the waitress is just downright rude and terrible waitress, period, like it's an inconvenience that I'm even there, I'll leave her a penny. 1 single penny or a nickel. Something like just something where she knows I didn't forget, but at the same time I won't, or I'll put it on the receipt, 0.05 cents, and I'll put it on there, make sure that they know I just left 5-cent tip. But if she just neglects me, I might leave her 5%. If I see her running around doing, I'll leave her 5% tip. Maybe a little more. Forgot I was here. So, but now I don't know. The people that think they can just treat anybody terrible, I have a problem with that. It's the same way I have problems with the kids. People like when I was in Winn-Dixie a couple weeks ago, a lady, her kid was screaming, acting up, grabbing stuff off the shelf, and she grabbed him by the arm and she just swatted him on the butt. And he did a cry and pouted, and this other lady, that's child abuse, and she started screaming at this lady for swatting her kid on the ass. And I walked by and I said, well, look, I says, you know what, better you do it than someone else. And I said, don't take it too personal. And I just told the lady, of course, now that I say it, I think back at how it might have sounded, but I walked by, I says, don't worry, ma'am. I says, just ignore her. I beat my kids too. And then I walked down the aisle, and I got there, I was like, I don't know if I really should have said it that way, but no, I mean, when I raised my kids, as a parent, I did not hesitate to lay one across their ass where they needed a spanking. I wasn't one of those parents that was like, okay, mister, you're going to be in timeout, go sit in the corner. No. man, if my kids deserved an ass whipping, they got an ass whipping the same way I got an ass whipping when I deserved it. But, you know, the thing is, my kids very rarely deserved an ass whipping, so they got very few of them. And when they did get one, they knew they had it coming. So it wasn't, and my kids are all, surprisingly, now imagine this. I spanked my kids. Yes, guilty. Guilty as charged. I spanked my kids when they were bad. But imagine this. None of them have been on drugs. None of them have even done drugs that they would admit to. But actually, I know for a fact, one, they get piss tested, one's an officer, one's in the medical field. So I know they don't do drugs, and they haven't done drugs. They haven't got in with gangs. They haven't fallen in with bad people. They're not alcoholics. They have kids of their own. And, you know, so you people that want to say spanking your children does more harm than good, I would differ with. I would argue with that and say, you know what? Not spanking your children, not letting them know that you care, because as much as it sounds, oh my God, you think spanking them shows them that you care? Yes, it shows them that you give a damn. Because most parents today will stand them in the corner, or that's it, no phone for you, mister. Please. Spank them, beat their ass, put them in their room, ground them for a week. That's what you do. Take their phone, take all their shit, make them be like in prison. You know, you won't be going out, you won't be doing this, you won't be doing that, you're going to be in your room, you come home from school, this is it. You want to disobey me, you're going to get another week on top of it. Try me, mister, see how it works. You know, you got to be a parent. You have to be a concerned parent. Not just somebody who's going to be a little pansy-ass wussy that says, we're going to take your phone, stand you in the corner. You know, so I'm going to tell you what, I have a problem with parents today. Parents today, just so funny. My you know, here's the way, if I had it my way, it would be mandatory where you would have to be married 5 years before you could have kids. I would think that, you know, as a husband and as a wife, I'm not saying a law or anything like that, I'm just saying as a husband or a wife, I would think if anybody approached their marriage or their relationship with that mentality, if you approached your relationship and simply said, you know what, you and I agree we're not going to have kids for 5 years until after 5 years of marriage, I think that should be, that number one, that'll tell you if your marriage is going to last. Number two, it tells you that you both want kids eventually. But I think that would be the best way to do it. Say, you know what? After 5 years, then we can get and have kids. Not that this is a law, just I think it should be something husbands and wives actually do. Hey guys, I'm going to stop here, grab some wings for dinner. Do me a favor, if you get a chance, follow me or subscribe. I'll see you tonight. I'll be doing the 7 o'clock stream if everything goes well. I'm going to try my best to get those, my drop frames from dropping, and I'm going to try and work on the actual overlays as soon as I get home. But I'll see you tonight at 7 if you get a chance to shoot by Twitch and or whatever platform you're on. Otherwise, guys, thanks for staying with me on the afternoon drive. I will see you tonight, and hopefully we'll get back in the swing of everything. See you soon.